Well, hello everybody. This is Cowboy Eddie Long. I just started at the beginning. Life began for me pretty rough. My parents divorced when I was 4 years old, and my mother remarried. We grew up, and they turned to drinking really hard. And, well, my mother committed suicide when I was 15, and then I got married when I was 18, and at 19, we went our separate ways. It just didn't work out. Well, 2 years later, we were going to get back together, and she was killed like 2 weeks before the wed day. So that just threw gasoline on the fire that I'd already started. And by the time I was 12, we were so poor. I mean, I didn't have shoes to wear to school. I literally would have to collect Coke bottles and go get enough pellets from a pellet gun to kill maybe a squirrel or something to eat with. And I learned how to cook real good. Anyway, life evolved into music for me, and basically by the time I was 22 years old, I had picked up drinking then too, from playing in bars and stuff, learning how to play this thing. My drinking progressed and progressed because I was running, this is in 1980, and even though Hank was a drinker, he's not the drinker everybody thinks about. It was mostly the band. And it got to the point where I was drinking 3 cases a day within just 2 or 3 months after being with him in 1980. Of course, 15 years with Hank, and then after I left him, the habit did not leave, the demon. And so basically by the year 2007, I had gotten down to practically lost everything I had. And one night I was in a bar drinking, and I happened to go to the bathroom. I remember looking into the mirror and seeing a dead man. And it hit me so hard, even though I was drunk. I left the bar and I went home and I got on my knees in my hotel room, and I told God, I said, I'm gonna stay down here. I don't care if it takes a week. I'm not coming off this floor before you get rid of this demon of alcohol. It's gotta go. And it took me probably 2 hours of prayer, but then I felt him leave. I felt the demon leave. And I knew I'd been delivered. And I've yet to this day to even want a beer or a drink of any kind that matters. And that's from somebody that would wake up in the morning, throw up blood. This was my routine for 30 years. Slam a 6-pack so I could get rid of the bugs and the snakes, and what I hated most was the little pterodactyls, about 50 of them on your chest. And that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. It changed me instantly, because the next morning, just out of nowhere, I got a phone call from these people, BMI Steel Guitars. All my equipment was broke. My steel guitar was just about completely gone. And so BMI calls me up out of the blue and says, "We've been looking for you." And they said they wanted me to play their steel guitars and endorse them. And 3 days later, Jamey Johnson called me up and said he wanted to do a 3-song demo. Well, not only did BMI hook me up with steel guitars, they said, we'll let you design any kind of amp rig you want. And so they had a company called Pico Speakers, and we designed a speaker system of my dreams. And so within 3 days, I had gotten my life back, and we went to do the Jamey Johnson recording session, the 3-song demos. Well, we couldn't stop recording, and we just said, well, let's try another. Basically, in 4 hours, we had that Lonesome Song album, the one with the color on it, finished. But then he turned around and named me as a producer. And so like within 9 months of that happening, all of a sudden I'm up for 6 Grammys as a producer, and 5 CMA awards as producer of Song of the Year, and 8 CMs the very first year. And then the next year, the album kept getting bigger and bigger. And now I've gone, after being with Hank 15 years, I did a lot of albums with him, like I think 23, but to even be thinking about getting a Grammy as a steel guitar player was beyond my beliefs. But God intervened, and within a year I'd even gotten full custody of my children, and I've been raising them for 10 years now. And it's like every day God opens a new door for me, and it's not easy. It's not like he just gives you something. You got to work for it. For Jesus himself said, for much is given, much is required. And for even more that's given, even more is required. And now I know what he's talking about. So if I've got any advice as far as drinking, don't do it to mask your pain, because it's going to always be there. But you will heal faster if you'll face it head on, instead of turning to alcoholism, because to me that's the worst drug out there. Because you walk out right out that front door and get it. And if you're struggling with it, that's your first step of realizing you have a problem with it. And I promise you, you ask that man upstairs, he'll come rushing in. He'll change your life. Praise God.